part of the residential properties when somebody purchases one, and as within that travel pack it provides them with the information that they need in order to access and those facilities. It will give them a timetable for the service, and they also go into negotiation with Southern Vectors to see whether there's also the ability to have kind of reduced travel for a period of time. There's a lot of negotiation happening in regards to those type of things to encourage active travel, to actually reduce the reliance on the private car and accept that we want to move traffic off Horsebridge Hill in that way, as well as so not over engineering it, but accepting that there will be some delays on Horsebridge Hill. What councillors, you'll note from reading the report is that we have looked at the air quality issues associated with increased congestion, and it's not considered to be an issue in relation to this site, and therefore we believe that there will not be additional air quality issues in association with this development. The facts of that are set out in the report, so I won't repeat them. So it is a matter of inconvenience opposed to anything further. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Ms Wilkinson. Supplementary, Councillor Critchison? No. In which case, whilst we await answering Councillor Stewart's question, any additional questions from colleagues? Councillor Spink.
Just for clarification, if I may please, we've heard talk about or mention about 131, I think it was, homes for social rent, and also mention of whole development being affordable. But what we're actually, the application is for the minimum, as it were, legally required 35%. So it's important that that's clarified. I trust I'm right. So, and they're to be 1-bedroom flats. So we're not considering the 131 socially rented properties, nor really the total amount of the entire site being affordable. That's an aspiration, but it's not something that is being applied for. It's an application for a minimum amount of legally required affordable homes. That's the application.
Thank you, Councillor Spink. Ms Wilkinson, can you confirm that that is the case, just for the purposes of elucidation and clarity?
I can confirm the requirement as part of the Section 106 would be that 35% of the development would be affordable housing, and those were the 3 mauve flatted blocks that were identified as part of the presentation. But we do have, and we heard from the public speakers, that we do have an affordable housing provider on board who are looking to potentially bring forward a greater percentage of the development for that purpose. And I can now, if I can share my screen, answer the question in regards to the woodland, if I may, at this point. I can't give you an exact distance, Councillor Stewart, but what I can do is show you where that ancient semi-woodland is in relation to the development. So the development, if we again use the marker, that is, oh, apologies, I will put my, oh, can you see my cursor? Yes, you can see my cursor. So I'm going to use Prior Crescent as my marker once again, and then Prior Mews. So this is effectively the development site in here. The green hatching on this plan is the ancient semi-woodland over here. So it is significant as a distance, I would suggest. So the guidance in terms of the buffer zones, we are well beyond that guidance in terms of a buffer for the ancient semi-woodland.
Thank you, Ms Wilkinson. Supplementary, Councillor Stewart. Technical.
I think we're all having fun with. Very briefly, just to emphasise that, first of all, I'd like to thank Councillor Garrett for raising the issues that I would normally raise. I don't need to say any more about that. This looks something that I am basically very happy with. Ancient woodland is something which I have a particular interest in for a variety of reasons. I'm aware that the current legal requirement is 15 metres. My committee recently put forward for the draft island plan strategy that we should look at 50 metres. Obviously, that has to go through the council and full council and all the rest of it, but that is the direction travel we'd like to see. But nonetheless, coming back to what you said, I'm satisfied that that is sufficient at this moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Stewart. Additional questions from colleagues, or if not, we'll move to the debate proper, as it were. Is there anyone who wishes to open that? Councillor Brodie, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to make a formal proposal. I understand the concerns regarding highways, etc. I say that as somebody who also lives on almost an equivalent busy road, Fairley Road. I can understand Mr. Rudd's concerns. And there is no doubt that the more homes that you build, homes that are needed, you're going to have an implication on the highways network. Sadly, we can't seem to persuade people that the motor car is something they can't rely on forever. It's going to, frankly, it's going to kill people. You know, long after I've gone, you know, children are increasingly affected by air quality, etc., etc. We have on this site, we have a fantastic bus route. It's dreadful for cycling, I have to say, as a cyclist, but there are attempts to try and address that with the site between Dondell Lane and the development site, and trying to address that we discussed on the site visit, how it links in to the further up Horsebridge Hill. And I think I was reasonably satisfied with what I heard there. Fundamentally, this is the best application in terms of potentially addressing the need for affordable housing on the island since the Pan Meadows development of the Isle of Wight in my ward. And that was the partners in that one included what used to be called Spectrum Housing Association. They change their name on a regular basis, and all their tenants think they're still council tenants. I was a director of Medina Housing Association, which became Western Challenge, which became Spectrum, which became Sovereign, which is now SNG. And I wonder what, given I represent the ward with 1,000 of their tenants, you know, it does get a little confusing. But nonetheless, Sovereign have engaged, as I understand it, very well with Captiva over this site. You're going to provide 72 key worker homes. They're desperately needed. It's not all for key workers' homes, as one of the media outlets headlined on one of their stories a few days ago, at 72 key, which Louise got absolutely right as usual. There are 131 homes that, as I understand, Sovereign are planning to purchase. If they do, they will become affordable homes. I'm reasonably confident that that will happen. You know, Mr. Richardson has indicated they've got nothing else on their books at the moment. If this is going to progress, that's fantastic. So in conclusion, unsurprisingly, I'm going to propose that we accept the officer's recommendation of conditional approval. I've got nothing else to add to that. Now for a seconder. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Brodie. I'm just going to bring Sarah on a point of clarification before I take the seconder, which I believe may be Councillor Quirk, but Ms. Wilkinson.
Thank you. Sorry, I just wanted to make sure I was absolutely clear from following something that you just said, Councillor Brodie. Thank you. Just that in terms of the key worker units, it's 72 of the, so we effectively the 106 would require 72 affordable housing units. A proportion of those will be key worker, so it's not 72 key worker units. I just wanted to clarify that, but that's great. Thank you very much, Chairman.
Thank you, Ms. Wilkinson. Councillor Quirk.
I'd like to second that. We've got two groups of people here. We've got Captiva, who built a very high standard with a lot of really good environmental considerations. And we've got Sovereigns, SNG, whatever they want to call themselves this week, but who also have very high environmental standards in the specifications for their buildings. And I think we've got a match made in heaven here. And I'm really delighted. This is the sort of thing that I was talking about earlier, that we need to have affordable homes for people on the island. And this is delivering it. And I'm delighted to be able to second it.
Thank you, Councillor Quirk. In which case, as there doesn't seem to be any pressing desire to speak, with the exception of Councillor Andre, who I shall defer to. Councillor Andre.
I just couldn't resist. Everything has pretty much been said. So I think I will just, in summary, say I think this is the right type of housing in the right place for the right people. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Andre. Councillor Jones-Evans.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm happy to support this application. There's been a lot of consultation. The types of homes are ones that are well needed, and it's great to have these partners working together. And you know, to hearing they're going to be, you know, potentially people living in them in a year's time is quite exciting. So yeah, all very excited about it all. If obviously the rest of the committee agree. I was just wondering, I couldn't see it, and perhaps I'm just being dim. The employment and skills plan, is that conditioned?
Through the chairman, I can confirm it's within the heads of terms of the legal agreement. I have added it. I don't know if it's in the heads. Apologies if it's not, but it is something I've required as part of the legal agreement.
Oh, lovely. I was just wondering at the appropriate time if it's appropriate. Yeah, I saw it's there.
Sorry.
But I couldn't see it.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough.
Whether they could be invited to come to our skills board, which we have every quarter. I think our skills board that covers the whole of the island will be really interested in this way of working. So if that's just a private ask, not a condition, obviously.
Through the chairman, I'm happy to raise that with them.
Thank you, Councillor Jones-Evans. Well, in which case, then I think the mood of the chamber is such that we will proceed to the vote. So those in favour of Councillor Brodie's proposal?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
And no against, I assume. I am abstaining, and on that basis carried. Thank you. We will move then swiftly to members' questions, given the time. Any questions? In which case, Councillor Spink.
One brief question, and that is simply this. Call me a little cynical at times, but there it is. Could it be, is it possible, please, for planning committee to have information about how things that we grant permission for develop? So, for example, in this matter, we're placing great stead in the fact that social rent will be affordable by people on the housing register. We're placing great stead in the fact that Sovereign, I can't remember their new name, Sovereign will come up with the goods and provide the key worker, extra workers accommodation and extra amounts. So could we have a breakdown of these things so that we actually know what is being achieved? Because there has been, I don't mean in relation to these applicants, but there has been many occasions when a lot has been promised and not very much delivered. I don't mean in this respect, but that is one of the reasons why people like I, or people like me, and also others oppose planning applications a lot of the time, because it's not nailed down tightly enough. And that's one of the reasons why I mentioned that actually what we're voting for is the minimum. We're all getting jolly excited, but what we're actually voting for is the minimum amount of affordable housing required by law. So could we have an update as to how it's going, please, in due course?
Thank you, Councillor Spear. I think that's a valid point, and one of which I'd also be eager to know a little more. Mr. Bolger, I don't know if you could address that in terms of how we can circulate data and provide an update in a helpful fashion.
Thank you, Chair. It's certainly something that I can look into. And I'm sure there wouldn't be too much pushback from already busy officers to provide some further work, but I think it is an interesting point and a legitimate one. I would signpost members if they weren't already. We do a form of reporting both to committee on an annual basis on performance, but also through our annual monitoring reports in terms of the general performance, what's consented, etc. I recognise that doesn't sort of follow through in the way that you've outlined, Peter. So I think that is something that we'll look at.
Thank you, Mr. Bolger. Councillor Brodie.
If it's helpful to council, but I do think it's incumbent upon the local member, to be frank. I often allude to Pan Meadows, 255 affordable homes, 80% of which were 70% of which were rented, I think. I monitored that all the way through. I mean, in those days, we had a lettings policy which was a hell of a lot better than the one you agreed for Bembridge. But I think I've been told you can't do them anymore. But I monitored that on a regular basis. I made sure that that was met all the way through. And I was also able to counter all the nonsense that was talked at the time by the notorious Alex Dyke on Isle of Wight Radio at the time, that they were all being advertised in Manchester and Newcastle, and there was going to be a mosque built on Pan Meadows. was absolute blooming nonsense, but I monitored it. And I do think, I mean, I'm sure Councillor Garrett's an assiduous councillor in Parkhurst and Honeyhill. I'm sure he will monitor how the homes on this new development, when it
yes.
goes ahead, are actually dealt with. Okay, thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Brody. I agree. I think it behoves us all to be more transparent and campaigning in our roles. But I think I will still follow through on what you say, Councillor Spink. I think trying to find a good way without putting too much extra resource and load on an already stretched LPA. Thank you. Any additional points or questions? In which case I draw the meeting to conclusion. Thank you very much. Thank you.